my name is Jeffrey, and welcome back for a very special episode 50 of the Satisfactory series here on YouTube. In this video, we're taking a full world tour of the series to celebrate and recap what we accomplished after around 350 hours of gameplay. From the ruins of our original basic item builds to mid-game motors and computer factories, finishing off with some of our more advanced layouts that we worked on recently, and stay tuned for the end for a cinematic recap. I can't thank you all enough for the support and help with the series so far. Let's get to playing games. Alright, 50 whole episodes. What a journey we have taken to get here. You can see it, we have one and only one thing to do on the to-do list today. It's taking a bit of a world tour. We're about 350 hours into this save, 50 episodes deep, and I mean, we've done quite a bit. I feel like things have changed quite a bit. There's a few things that don't exist technically anymore. You can just, we'll see like the ruins of them from my very first factories in the world. And we'll take a journey through about my mid-game area and then all the way up until what we've done recently, like the radio control units, the nuclear power, all that fun stuff. So without further ado, let's get this thing started, shall we? I mean, I take you on a little tour here around our home base. This is where we start each and every episode if you're not familiar. We've got everything you need right here. We've got our space elevator off to the right. We've got some random storage bins for things I need to drop off. We've got our blueprint designer. Beautiful little waterfall that just kind of falls right through our floor there. All our little shops. All our MAM and everything is all over here. Everything we need. Just kind of set up along here just as a little starting point. I am built right over the giant hole in the map. Since you can't really do anything else with this area, I just covered it up with a giant concrete platform and made this my home. And then we just got a bunch of roads kind of coming in around here. We got a bunch of vehicles. If I ever had multiple people playing on the server, I'm ready to go. If you do want to have multiple people play on this world, the world save is available in the description. In the Google Drive, you'll find some blueprints and stuff in there as well. These are just a few wall designs I was playing around with back in the early game when I was trying to learn how to do my first round of cosmetics. Speaking of my first round of cosmetics, these were the first two buildings that I actually ever tried to build in this game. This was the Hall of Legends for anyone who ended up subscribing on the Patreon or becomes a YouTube channel member. Your name goes on a nice sign in here. And it's just a nice, if you wanted to show support of the channel, you get a little memento in the world. That was my first time playing around with like glass and stuff like that. And then I also made this Jeffrey's garage over here. Is it functional? Nope, it does absolutely nothing. There's really nothing in it. It was just me trying to, start learning how to play with different materials and different items in the game, seeing how I could decorate things. I think it kind of gave a bit of a life to this area, which was nice. It was just very flat, open, and empty before. So we're going to keep on carrying down our road here. I'll take you guys into one of our first drop-off factories. This produces our liquid biofuel. So whenever you go on little adventures, we got some loading issues there. You drop your alien parts or your biomass waste stuff. You throw it in here, and eventually it turns into this whole giant stack that I've got going on. I'm gonna grab one while I'm here actually. Looks like I'm getting kind of low. All your packaged liquid biofuel needs. And then I can just show you a quick little highlight of the factory here. So it's a bit crazy, but things just kind of get dropped off in here. They end up getting split up through these smart splitters through here. Things go to different machines upstairs. And things actually kind of go around all over the place here. They go up, they come back down. They go all through the floors here. But this was a kind of fun one to put together, and it's been really helpful, although it doesn't actually really use much power, which is nice because it kind of just sits here stationary, not doing much most of the time. Speaking of drop-off factories, welcome to the Parish Shoe Company. For anyone who knows the Jumanji reference, I appreciate you. This was my most disliked video that I've done so far because people did not like that I clickbaited that I made brick in the game, although I still think it looks pretty cool. So it's just basically, if you come on in here, you can drop off anything you got from your adventures. We got color cartridges automated. We've got power slugs, or power shards, automated. You've got the alien DNA capsules. We've got solid biomass if you need to fill up on your chainsaw for cutting things down. And you can still come in through the back here. There's where you'll see things rushing along if you're ever using stuff. You can kind of come up the stairs here. This looks a lot cooler if you have actually here, maybe I can turn it on just for this little bit here. There we go. This factory just looks so much better with global illumination on. So you can come into here. This is the little factory area where color cartridges are being made if you ever had to troubleshoot anything. And then you can kind of go all the way up the stairs. And each floor is kind of just, if you ever had to, like, you know, say there was an issue or a blockage somewhere. I don't think there is. Pretty much everything I've made is 100% efficient for the most part. You can see everything is just kind of sitting here waiting at the ready for in case you ever drop things off. So this does split up your power lines a little bit if you're trying to keep things like exactly perfect. Obviously these aren't running all the time, so but I'm looking forward to in 1.0 where biomass can be kind of automated a little more. This was just expansion if I ever thought I needed it, but turns out I've definitely never needed this much. I think this was the power slugs up here, and I was like, well, just in case I ever need more. Yeah, so that's what this factory was all about, and the factory next door was all about just dropping things off and literally automating as many things as we possibly can. So now before we head on out of our little main area here, let's stop on in at the storage drop off and take a quick little look at that. Yeah, I really liked how this building looked with global illumination on. Global illumination is, if you can have it on, you definitely should, because the game just looks so much better with it on. So yeah, let's head on over here to our little storage building where you see all my little tractors coming in, dropping things off. We're going to go take a look at the factories these all come from in just a minute. But yeah, all this was I set up a bunch of drop-off stations for the trucks. Everything goes down underneath to a bunch of belts that feed a smart line system of this storage facility right here. I never actually ended up doing an episode of this. It wasn't really anything too crazy. It's literally just storage boxes and everything just kind of fills up. It's still not even done because I don't even send everything here that I should be sending here. But we probably get around to that one day. Hey, here's our little fuel station, which keeps everybody going. Everyone else, they drop off their stuff, they stop here for fuel, and then they head off back down, and we're gonna head on over and take a little look at what everyone's doing on over here. I'll take you guys to the main area we started in the grassy fields, where the majority of our beginner factories still are. And let's take this little hypertube cannon. I'll see you guys over there. Alright, welcome to the main section of the grassy fields where we first began our journey in Satisfactory. It's come quite a long way from what it first started out as. I don't have them anymore, but I'm sure if you guys have been here, if you've watched the original videos, we started everything from right here, right in the middle. And everything was kind of started from there. Then we started venturing off. We split off. This is the old remnants of, I believe this was modular frames and rotors. This is just a former shell. I started taking it apart and I thought it looked kind of cool. I mean, some of it still has to be turned away, but I thought it looked kind of cool with like some of it still here, like an old ruined factory. And then I've still got just some remnants to still clean up of old factories. That would have been reinforced iron plates. That was our starter copper factory over here that used to make wire sheets and cables. That was our starter iron factory right there. Our starter concrete factory used to be, I believe, right about here. That's what all those storage containers are for. We've still got our good old human cannon launchers. You want to go east, north, or basically this one will shoot you right over to the red sand desert. Now, the main thing you guys have probably noticed if you're looking right here is this ginormous building right here. This was partway through, we decided to overhaul all our basic items, took down all our old factories, and they are now built into this ginormous mega factory right here. This makes every single what I would consider basic item in the game that we need. I've never run out of building materials, which has been great. We got cables, rods, reinforced iron plates, copper wire, concrete, very little screws because I don't really use a lot of screws, modular frames, quick wire, rotors, copper sheets, and AI limiters. I literally never run out of crafting materials from this factory. Now I'll show you guys a quick little look at the one thing I was super proud of was this truck station right here. This truck depot where everyone comes to pick everything up. We've got all your items flowing into here. Everyone's got a little truck line. They come in, they pick stuff up. As you can see, a guy leaving here right now. And they come out the backside over here. They go through this loop. And then I'm sure what you guys all really want to see, the inside of this bad boy. So welcome to the Shenanigans Factory. Oh my god, I forgot how bright it was in here. So this was my hallway blueprint that I originally designed, and I was really happy to finally implement it into a factory build. So you got your first floor where your smelting room. Everything's going on in here. Hopefully things are recording okay. I did leave Lumen on, but since I'm not really building and I'm not really around a whole bunch of foliage, I think I might get away with having it on for now. Where I think this room just looks really great. You got item elevators off to the sides. You can see everything going, moving around. This is basically just a bunch of solid ingots flying around. These ones I believe are taking items down. Separated everything off. This factory, I really took the time to plan out the cosmetics of it and make it look as cool as I could. I really like coming into this factory from time to time just because it's really fun to actually just kind of walk around it and take a look at everything working. I like having as many things still visible in the factories, like all the, like I like to see some belts. You see, I'll send things from like room to room, like underneath. But I do like to keep things like working in the room so I can actually see what's going on. I'll take a little look upstairs here to the other floors where things start to actually get produced. This is our very first logistics floor. I never bothered doing lighting on the logistics floors because I don't really ever spend any time on them. But yeah, you come up here to the constructor floor where I think I have well over 100 constructors. Actually no, I think there's about 90 constructors on this floor. There's over 100 constructors in this entire factory though. So once again, I split off each little area to do their own thing. So like this is all just doing screws over there. So this whole floor, we've got screws, we got screws at 1140 per minute. Most of those are just being used in recipes in this building. We have 400 iron plates per minute, much of those being used in recipes, 280 rods, 180 copper wire, 85 copper sheets, 60 cables, and 300 quick wire, all per minute. And I believe that is being made all on this floor. Everyone's in their own section. This floor was really cool as well. I did like a really nice, I think I did a nice job of lighting it and keeping things all separated. I have this like whole area where I was like actually marking out areas for you to walk around in, and here I am just flying over everything. But yeah, this factory was one of my favorites put together so far in terms of like cosmetics. It's really nice to walk around in. I think my #1 favorite cosmetics factory I've done so far is a computer build that we're going to get to here shortly. But yeah, this is the constructor room of the basic item mega factory. Back here is just like troubleshooting things. I really liked the idea of you should always be able to get access to like everything, every moving part in the factory. So any like belts and lifts, even though you want to hide them away, like just be able to have some sort of access to them at some point. You get up to the very top floor here. We'll skip that logistics floor right there. You come up to the very clean assembler floor right here where you can run right down the middle. You've got skylights, you've got lights. Up here, I believe we're just making any parts that needed to be made in an assembler are being made up here. It's really good to see all the green lights still in this factory. Everything's been running at 100% efficiency. If I find any things along the way, I'll have to be like, oh, looks like we made a mistake here somewhere. But yeah, I really like the views from this factory too. This factory was many hours to put together. This was like a 4 or 5 episode series to put this whole factory together, but it was a lot of fun. So now we're gonna head down. I'll show you the last little bit before we leave. There is the concrete portion of this factory downstairs, as well as a few miners and things like that. We'll just take a quick little run on down there, and that'll be the basic item mega factory that I built. Yeah, so we got concrete production over here. Everything is going on up there. And then all the belts you see kind of up above, those are all the actual like finished products going over to the truck station, because the truck station that I took you guys through is actually right here. You can actually see the road is actually the black ceiling. That's where the actual road part is, which is kind of funny. But yeah, that's the concrete production side of the factory. And then you've got the iron extraction side. Once again, same thing, lots of belts going on all around. I think this looks really cool. This room is one of my favorites just because there's so many belts moving around. Got a little boss management here taking care of everything. You have 1,200 iron ore per minute coming out of this room, split between a bunch of different areas. Yeah, if you're ever looking to like build along with this series, I hope I did a good job of keeping things slowed down enough. I know I'm kind of going a little fast today just because we have so many things to look at after 350 hours. And this is like, we're still literally just in the beginning area. So we're going to come back on outside. We're going to head on out from our basic item factory here. You're going to not pay attention to that awesome sink clipped into the wall. I kind of forgot that was even there. And I'll take you guys over for a quick little look at the steel and motor factories that are over here. And then that's pretty much going to be it for what's left over here. Oh, I guess the heavy modular frames factories there too. We'll go take a look at that. But first we're going to take a quick little peek over here. I believe, yeah, I never did, this was a 2.0 version of my steel build. Yeah, if you guys remember, we started off quite small. This was all just on the one floor, and it did about half as many items as it does now. Now it does way more plates, or sorry, way more steel beams, way more steel pipes, and way more steel encased industrial beams. I think it also makes stators as well, just because I wanted to automate a handful of them. Yep, there they are. The 5 stators per minute. Looks like this factory is still operating nicely as well. Yeah, if you come on over here on the back side of the rock arch, we have what is, I believe this was the very first factory we actually did cosmetics on, and I actually did like proper layout, which turned out, I think, way better than I really expected, because I keep coming back to this factory from time to time and I'm like, man, this one actually looks really cool. Just like the blend between the different materials and the overall layout, I thought it was really cool. So this was our very first motor build, using some alternate recipes as well. You can kind of come on in the front door here. You can take a look on each side. This was actually a screenshot for one of the videos, or one of the thumbnails for one of the videos. So you got your smelting, all being done in this one room over here. You got some constructors doing some crazy things here. I feel like I could have done a little bit better of a job lighting these things. This was before I started using signs for lighting. This is when I was using like actual lights. I don't really like, with Lumen, I don't really like using the lights as much. I definitely prefer using the signs. Yeah, this was our first little motor factory to help feed all the refineries that you need to build in the game. And I think I did this at like five motors per, I can't really remember how many motors per minute, but it wasn't too many. But it's definitely kept me going with no issues throughout the whole game. Alright, back out in the hallway here, we got the steel pipes room over here. Back here, those are just emergency exits from the factory rooms. So if you come down here, you've got all the copper wire being made in there. You've got the rotors and stators being made in here. And the actual motors themselves in here, which I forgot to even add lights into. It's getting a little bit dark back here. But yeah, this was the very first cosmetic factory I tried to put together that wasn't just like a normal flat layout. I think it turned out pretty cool. And then back here is just, I think this is versatile frameworks being made right now. They're just kind of going into a sink, which is just getting me a little bit points. All these bins are full right here, so I think I may actually just use those when it comes to crafting the recipe. Or I might build another one. We'll kind of see how things go. But that is, I believe, it for all the green fields buildings at least. And we'll take a quick little pit stop in at the heavy modular frames factory. Hello, tractor. Take a Pit stop into the Heavy Modular Frames Factory on our way over to the beaches, where we're going to be finding our first circuit boards build. We'll find our computer factory, find our first oil layout and everything. That was kind of like our first little adventures outside of the green fields area was over by the beaches. So let's take a little tour to the Heavy Modular Frames Factory up there, that black building, and then we'll head on out from there. I forgot over here as well, this was my first ever coal power build down here in the little water hole. That's actually like right below the Heavy Modular Frames Factory. This was like just the same basic starter coal factory that I think literally everyone makes in the game, so nothing really super fancy to show you guys about this. Just wanted to make sure I didn't forget about showing you anything. Our first little coal build here in the little beach hole. And now coming up to the piece de resistance, we have the Heavy Modular Frames Factory. This was another really cool one that I put together, I think. I think the aesthetics turned out really nice. This was one of my first times using all like foundations as walls, and I turned them into like the shiny black. I thought it looked really cool. So we'll take a little quick look inside here as well. Come on up to the entrance in here. We got the Heavy Modular Frames Factory. I think this only does about 5 per minute. This is all your smelters, everything going on right here. I believe there's some constructors going on here towards the back. There certainly are. We've got most of the steel things being made on this floor. All your constructors right here. You got another item elevator going on here. I hadn't lit this one quite as well yet. This was when I was starting to learn to do the item elevators. Yeah, so 5 heavy modular frames per minute coming out of this factory. Kind of some cool lighting in here. I feel like it did a pretty decent job. So you've got a logistics floor here. If you ever need to troubleshoot anything, you turn off global illumination, you'd actually be able to see things in there. Then you come up to the top floor here with lots and lots of natural lighting from the skylights. I thought was really cool. These are all your assemblers and a couple manufacturers over here to the back. This is 5 heavy modular frames per minute. This one was a really cool build as well. I hopefully would like to get back to doing more like fully aesthetic builds in 1.0 with a better optimization they have coming out. Perhaps I can spend a bit more time building. You'll notice going forward, I kind of stopped doing a lot of aesthetics. I mentioned it before. Computers started to struggle a little bit the more beautification I started doing, so I've had to cut back on it a little bit for now. But yeah, coming back to some of these old ones just gets a really nice appreciation for everything. The view from some of these factories is absolutely wild. And I think this one has a nice one too, because you get a nice little lookout down into the green fields here. Don't mind those floating road pieces that I was pretend designing for future blueprints. They're actually so big, I'm probably not even going to use them. But yeah, that's the Heavy Modular Frames Factory. And now we're going to hit the road and we're going to head on over to the western beaches. Take a little trip down these roads I spent so much time making, and I barely ever drive down them myself. They're mostly just for a highway system for all my trucks. But I drive down them from time to time. I more use the hypertube cannons to get around. Like launching myself, just it's the fastest way I know to get around. And when I gotta go cross map for some of these builds, then that's usually my way of doing it. I know a lot of people like to use trains too, because you can just kind of go AFK and the train will just drive you to wherever you want to go. As long as you're like set up a proper way of going there. Trains cause me a little bit of an issue in game, but I do have at least one train line running. We'll get to take a look at that in a little bit. But we're coming on over here to the western beaches. I did build a little turn off to the left to this island. I believe people call this like Paradise Island or whatever it's called. It has absolutely nothing on it, so I never actually ended up finishing building over there. That's where I was going to build the original Hall of Legends, but I ended up needing to fill some space at the home base. So we'll just kind of keep on driving down the highway here. We're coming up on the circuit board factory that I put together. 50 circuit boards per minute. Honestly, these have just been going into the sink literally the entire game. I feel like this factory was not really super necessary at the time, but we'll stop here and take a look at it anyway. It was super easy though, honestly. I just ran some oil over to make a bunch of plastic. We got the excess stuff being made into petroleum coke going into a sink here, which I'm probably gonna actually use that petroleum coke here soon. And then it was pretty easy. It's just some copper sheets. I didn't have a lot of alternate recipes at the time, so things are, you know, not quite as efficient as they could be. Now I have basically all the alternate recipes, and I use quite a lot of them in my builds. You can see I got just a bunch of boxes full of circuit boards here. Everything else is just going into a sink. This was a pretty fun build put together though. It was really easy, really satisfying just because of kind of the way everything grouped up. But that's just our little pit stop. You can see we've got a fuel factory or a fuel power plant going on over here. Let's go on and take a look. You'll also see my number 1 favorite build we've done so far, the computer factory here on the right. We'll take a look at that first, and then we'll head on off to the left where you can see one of my power plants. That actually wasn't one of the original builds. We had added that on later on. But yeah, here we'll take a little quick peek in at the computer factory here. I don't want to have to drive all the way down and around, so I'm just going to hop out here, and we'll hop out the ledge, or hop over the ledge and check out this computer build. This was 10 computers per minute, I think. I really need to start labeling these better. I thought this was kind of cool. So underneath here, you can see is a wreckage, and I built over top of it, but I wanted it to still be like, you know, I didn't want it to like disappear from existence. So my idea was it was like a research area sort of thing down here. Not part of the factory, obviously, but I thought it was just like a little cool thing to add. So you've got our little truck station here where I think the computers get dropped off. Got a little parking area right here that I could have driven down to. This is definitely one of my favorite aesthetic builds. You come in here, you've got the refinery room where you've got plastic and rubber being made. I'm glad I'm leaving global illumination on for this one because it makes this factory look absolutely beautiful. So you kind of come through here, you're walking down, you got the line of rubber, you got the line of plastic. You come here to the stairwell, the first floor refinery, and then we're going to go to smelting and logistics. We're going to need some light here. Then production assembly and manufacturing. So you're going to come into the stairwell here, which I forgot to put lights into. So we'll just use our flashlight to get around for now. You're going to come on up into the smelting floor, where this is refining all your turning all your Caterium ore into Caterium ingots. This was a really cool little room as well. No sunlight really comes in here. This is like super industrial looking. And then we keep going on up the stairs. And this really was one of my favorites. And you come on into not the very top floor, but the second to last floor where you've got all your constructors. You've got making quick wire all along here. You've got circuit boards being made over here. And it's got a nice little item elevator there. So you can check in on all your circuit boards being made right here. Then you're going to take actually you can go 2 ways. You can go through this door right here, which is a room strictly just for making more petroleum coke, which again, I should probably collect these together and actually use them for something. And then if you come up to the very, very top floor, hopefully it's not lagging too much, you will see our manufacturers, which are actually putting together the computers at the very end, and they go down into an item elevator going down the floor there that you can take a little look at depending on what room you end up in. Sorry, my mic clipped there again. I don't know why that's happening lately. I really hope my microphone's not dying. Last minute storage bin just in case you needed anything. But yeah, the views from this factory are absolutely insane. Like I said, this is up there for probably my favorite build I put together so far in the world. And now we can head on over and take a look at my baby's first oil production, where we were making plastic and rubber and fuel. Let's head on over there now. Oh yeah, this was just like a rooftop like area you could go onto. You can look down into the factory too. I thought it was kind of cool. Yeah, instead of going all the way back down through, I was like, I'm just gonna hop down over here. So let's hop in our Explorer here. I think I might have to turn off global illumination once we leave this area, because when we start to get to the more heavily populated areas, the computer is not going to like me very much. All right, rolling up into my first oil facility. So the OG oil facility was basically this right here, where you've got the plastic, the rubber, and then they're also making the heavy oil residue, which gets turned into fuel. And that fuel is actually running all the vehicles in the world that you saw driving around earlier. It gets picked up by a truck. Oh, speaking of which, I should probably move this so I'm not in the way, just in case the truck comes back while we're here. So yeah, this was the OG fuel production facility to power all the vehicles, and it's still been powering all the vehicles throughout the whole game. I've had no issues. And then a few episodes down the line, we decided to add in a power production facility over here. That actually takes an oil, wraps it around here. And over here, this is when I started having a lot more alternate recipes. We have a pretty efficient oil power production here, using the alternate diluted fuel blend, alternate diluted fuel recipe in the blenders, where you basically can take heavy oil residue and water and turn it into fuel. So you're basically turning water into fuel. If you guys remember that episode, felt like the Jesus of Satisfactory. They are powering all these that are overclocked to the very end. And I think this was like 48,000 megawatts of power or something like that. Somewhere in that ballpark. It was a really big power boost that really helped us get through more of the mid to end game. So that is my very first oil production. We'll hop in our Explorer and we will continue on down the highway here. The sun is coming up. We're going to say goodbye to the computer factory and our original oil layout. We're going to take on down our highway here, head on over to the the Rocky Sand Desert. The Rocky Desert Sand. I don't remember the exact name of this biome, but we're going to take a left here, and it's going to take us over to our, this is a bit more of an advanced area. We're hitting up our nuclear power plant, which puts out 100,000 megawatts of power. I'll have to show you guys just the immense scale of production that went into putting all that together, including, as you may see on your left as it starts rendering in, a whole bunch of, I think it's 80 water pumps on our left here. We'll take a little look up through there, and in just a moment, as we kind of come up on through here, you'll see everything start to load in. This entire biome is basically dedicated to nuclear power. Alright, I'm going to stop at this intersection right here because we'll actually end up taking a right here at some point. So let's go take a little look at our water pump facility over here. Alright, here we are at my 80 water pump facility. I don't think this is technically 100% efficient because I was just having some weird water issues with the pumps. But as you can see, it is a sea of water pumps followed by just a monster line of pipes running all the way along here. This is 16 Mark II pipes of water running all the way along here. This was quite a montage of pipeline to put together, and I even had to cut out most of it because it took me so long to put this all down. So we'll kind of come along here. We'll follow these pipes to the actual nuclear facility itself, where you can take a quick little peek in here, see all the, we're going to stay, I don't know if I have too many filters on me, so I'm going to stay back a little bit. I don't want to get super radiated. We have all of our, I don't know why, oh, right. I forgot to change the, I colored that when I was really doing some troubleshooting, but everything's fine now. So this is 40 nuclear power plants giving us 100,000 megawatts of power. And then on top of that, it is fully recycled, being sent into these nuclear, or these particle accelerators right here, my favorite building in the game. And they get turned into these pellets that get sent up into this line of machines up here. Oh, gotta be careful, it's pretty radiated back here. If you come back here, you can see everything kind of coming together. and it gets made into plutonium fuel rods, which eventually go into the sink here for just a buttload of points, and it also gets rid of all the nuclear waste that we have. So that's been super nice the way that all works. I haven't seen any issues coming out of this area. If you're looking to follow along for a nuclear build, I feel like I made this one pretty simple. It does a lot of work. I'll tell you that right now. This was, I don't know, I think 5-6 episodes to get everything all together. Yeah, like this section here is literally just for the recycling of the nuclear power, or the recycling of the waste, and then the actual making of the components to do the nuclear power is all up here on this giant platform, this little mega factory layout. I have had people ask me why I always do things flat. One, I don't know, I kind of like it. I think it looks pretty cool, really satisfying to see everything all laid out in one. Also, I think it makes it a little bit easier for if people are trying to follow along, the less like extra floors I do. I am probably going to start going back to doing like multiple floors again pretty soon, but I do think this just looks kind of cool. But yeah, anyway, this is all about making nuclear power. All the nuclear fuel rods we need is essentially what all this is about here, as well as a few other components for the recycling. But you've got a 100% efficient nuclear power facility running here. You've got all sorts of things being made, from copper wire to steel pipes to just all electromagnetic control rods. Some of these are pretty basic, some of these are not. Yeah, like I said, this was many episodes to put all this together. Here's where we're actually making the fuel rods and everything. So if you want to ever follow along with a nuclear build, I think this one turned out pretty cool, but it is a lot of work. Man, getting a good solid overhead look at this place is absolutely crazy. I can't believe how much it takes just to produce the 100,000 megawatts. That's where I feel like more people like doing the turbo fuel power route, just because one, like, I feel like in the end, like this is taking a lot of power. Like this is probably taking 25,000 megawatts just to make 100,000 megawatts. So I'm really only getting like 75% of like the actual power output, because it just takes so much to actually get there. I am going to try a turbo fuel build here coming up. I think I'm going to do it on a separate world, because I'm pushing this one to the limits on what I can handle. Or what my computer can handle, I mean. And I wanted to try like more of like a mega build with it. In its own world, so we'll stay tuned for that. That'll probably come after we actually like finish the game, and if we have time left before 1.0 comes out, probably start doing some cool stuff like that. But yeah, now we can head on down. I don't know if that road actually connects to that factory over there, so I'm gonna take you guys back down here first. I'm gonna show you my very first aluminum factory that I did. Aluminum sheets, aluminum casings, and batteries, all from one area. And it was actually really easy. So again, if you're looking for something to follow along with, I feel like this one was pretty easy. All my episodes are labeled fairly accordingly if you're looking to find anything. And if you ever have any questions, let me know. You can join in the Discord. Leave a comment down below. I'll do my best to get back to you. So back in the Explorer here, we're going to take this road on down. You can see that giant ramp going up over there. We are basically heading for the, where are we at here? Where am I? There we are. We are basically heading up here for where you can see these drones and everything. We're heading for these pools right here. Need to be a little bit careful. Since we don't come here very often, I was like, hey, not a big deal to send some uranium through a drone through here. So it is a little bit radiated, but everything should be all right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my very first aluminum production facility. It was actually quite small, quite easy. These blenders are right here basically making our batteries, and all these batteries do is power all our drones around the world essentially right now. I did fill up I don't really use a lot of batteries for crafting, so I did fill up a couple containers at least. I'm going to be building another battery factory coming up, because we do need like 150 of them just for a space elevator part. So again, you can stay tuned for that build coming up. I've got a bunch of builds planned out coming up into the final space elevator parts. If you're looking how to break them down into easier pieces, I think I've done it pretty well. I've got a few builds that'll be separate, and then things are just kind of coming together from some of the more endgame builds we've been doing lately, like the radio control units, and the fused modular frames. They're going to be getting used in a bunch of the builds here soon as well. All right, so fun fact, I don't know if some of you just noticed that all the lights here were yellow. That is not good because those batteries power all my drones, which are very important. So I don't know what happened. Like, it seemed like we had just somehow filled the system up with water. I don't quite understand how that'd be possible because this should be all fully balanced out water-wise. Okay, problem solved. I don't know what happened, but I just flushed out all the fluid buffers and now everything's running again. So maybe you may just have to come and flush some fluid buffers from time to time. But anyway, that is my very first aluminum build. Used a few alternate recipes. Honestly, I think I kind of like doing aluminum the very basic way. You'll see me do an aluminum factory, a huge aluminum factory later on we'll be getting to as we move on over towards the swamp. But before we do that, we're gonna take a little peek on back here. We've got crystal oscillators, and we've got our massive heavy oil residue production, which is now actually grouped together to make a few other things as well. So let's head on over here down through the clouds. You'll see our crystal oscillator factory come into view. Honestly, this is my most hated factory I've ever built in the game. You might be like, why on earth do you hate this one so much? I went way too much for trying to do like these, you see all these like even numbers and everything in the machine. That I tried way too much to go for the aesthetically pleasing layout and not the actual functionality, because there is just an absolute chaotic mess of splitters and mergers down here that I don't want to talk about. But essentially what this is my panic mode of trying to split everything evenly. I mean, the factory works now, thankfully. It took me a few working around with things to actually make this 100% efficient, but it definitely works now. One of the other issues I did run into was water as well. But those issues have fixed now. So 50 crystal oscillators per minute. I'm laughing, but I'm also crying. This is a cool build to put together though. So I would say don't copy this one exactly, but 50 crystal oscillators per minute is definitely a fun build to put together. It's kind of a mega factory, I would say. I did use some alternate recipes. I actually made this recipe from purely just quartz and iron. So the iron wire recipe is actually really, like, I cut copper completely out of the build for crystal oscillators, which I thought was really cool. Definitely made things a little bit more complicated, but it works really nicely. So 10 of these actually crystal oscillators are being sent on a very long line because I didn't want to waste time doing a vehicle. Being sent back to our factory over there, you'll see in just a minute, and then the rest of the 40 are just being delivered over to my storage so I can use them for like signs and stuff like that. So without further ado, let's head on over to the massive heavy oil residue production facility. Why I built this, mostly just for fun. I have been using like a bunch of the stuff around the map. I usually turn the heavy oil residue into petroleum coke for steel recipes. I found has been very efficient. It's actually part of the nuclear build that we actually have going on, is some bunch of petroleum coke. Again, a mess of pipes because this was trying to bring in 3,450 crude oil per minute, and splitting it between all these machines also took me a long time to get this one working properly because I wasn't paying enough attention, and I didn't realize that one of my oil pumps wasn't even hooked up to power, and then the other one had the power slugs in it but was not actually set to be fully overclocked like it should have been. So at least now, after 350 hours, I have got this heavy oil residue production facility working at its proper and premium setup. Most of it is just going into a sink right now because I make so much of it. I can't deal with all of it. Like I said, a lot of it was made just for fun. So you have just all this making heavy oil residue being pumped into these packagers over here, which some of it is then being split off and being unpacked again. Just to be, this build doesn't necessarily make the most sense in the world, but I thought it was a kind of a cool one to put together. So we got everything kind of going in here. It looks like we actually are a little bit short on our heavy oil residue here, so I'll have to figure that one out really quickly. Yeah, so most of it's just being, we got drone ports ready to go for whenever we need to send it around. If and when these are all up and running, I will definitely need to increase my battery production because that'll be a lot of drones flying around. But the second part of this factory we actually just finished was doing radio control units, which kind of just fit in right here. Those refineries back there and these machines right here. And then also our very first train line. I don't know how close he is, probably not super close, but that's dropping off all our aluminum ingots that we need for this line. That brought me the aluminum ingots. We're bringing over the crystal oscillators from way back there. And then I'm turning all this polymer resin that we were getting as leftover. That's getting turned into rubber, and that is feeding all these machines through here. So I mean, it's been pretty efficient so far. I haven't really noticed any big issues. I gotta go figure out whatever that petroleum coke problem is. But other than that, this was a super easy late game item to put together, but that was more just because I was kind of already prepared. So you'll notice as we get into some of these more late game episodes for like beyond this one, that I'm using a lot of things that I've already built previously. So everything is just kind of mashing together at this point where it's all just one big trying to prepare for the end goal type thing. So that was radio control units. That's our first train. Over here, these are all purely just for making all the empty canisters that I needed per minute. So obviously, I can't remember what I made. I think it's like 3,600. It's over like 3,000 heavy oil residue. So I needed a lot of canisters, obviously. So this whole section right here is dedicated just to making canisters. So I would definitely classify this one as a bit of a mega size build. Again, very largely unnecessary, but I had a lot of fun with it. And so if you guys want to follow along, just make sure you're ready to spend a lot of time connecting pipes and belts and all sorts of things. But from here, we can head on over towards the swamp, where we have some of our... Oops, I just took a screenshot for some reason. Head on over to the swamp where we have some of our, again, more recent builds. And we'll be getting up towards kind of the end here of the world tour. I don't know if I have too much more to show you guys beyond that. I think maybe at the very end of the video, I'll just throw in a couple like little video highlights where like I'm not talking about stuff. I'll just do like little cinematic pass-throughs of some factories. This is another quick little highlight for anyone who wants to see it. But yeah, I mean, if you're still here watching this point of the video, I really appreciate you guys supporting this series. This has really been so much more than I ever thought it would be. And we're only like 250 subscribers away from 1,000 now, which blows my mind. So yeah, let's head on over. We'll probably shoot ourselves out some cannons to head on over there. I don't think there's much. Actually, you know what? Maybe I'll just we'll take the train's on its way over. We'll take the train trip over, since there's nothing in between here for me to show you. Oh, there's another. Well, I mean, it's another power facility. I actually don't think I recorded doing this one. This one was just like an extra power facility I made. Just as a little bonus. It was literally just a copy and paste of the one I already showed you, so we'll probably skip over that one and we'll just take a little train ride over to the aluminum swamp factory. Alright, we are rolling into the aluminum factory. Oh, don't crash on me now. I'll hop on out here. Hopefully it doesn't run me over. Excellent. So welcome back. For anyone who's familiar with the series lately, you'll be very familiar with this area. This is our super aluminum swamp factory. where we are currently making 30, I think this is where I got the 3600. 3600 aluminum ingots per minute. Some of them are being used so far. We still have quite a few to make use of, thankfully, in some builds going forward. Anyone that's been colored not orange, that means they're being used. Or if they're blue, that means they're being split. And this red one over here is being split. So I still got a couple more from that one too, but I think you get 30 from the ones that are already split. But anyway, this was our super aluminum factory that I set up knowing that I needed many aluminum parts going forward for the end game builds. And I didn't want to have to do it over and over and over again. So we just made one real big one. This was not an alternate recipe. This is the standard recipe where you use silica and aluminum scrap. Honestly, not bad aside from, I mean, when you get this big, yeah, you got to do, I think there's a lot of silica to be made here. But I mean, you can also make silica from, I believe it's limestone. Limestone, like cheap silica. Like if you don't want to waste your quartz, it would take a lot of limestone, but to do this much. But this seems to work out nicely. Just make sure this doesn't seem okay. Yeah, just making sure everything's working all properly. This one was a lot of fun to put together too. I kind of like the big builds. They're very satisfying. Like it's a lot of work, obviously, to put them together, but it just feels that much better when you see everything up and running and all together. Especially when things actually work. I've had a few issues, mainly with liquids usually. But, you know, given some time and some help from you guys, I usually get things figured out. So this aluminum factory, thankfully, working fully 100%. I'm seeing all green lights. That makes me very happy. Yeah, that's pretty much what this entire section was dedicated to. This whole area right here is the aluminum ingots, these refineries, these those constructors and everything. And then this section right here was actually dedicated to making the fused modular frames, another endgame item that was actually pretty fun and pretty easy to put together. Obviously a lot of work, but mainly because it just takes a lot of little parts to kind of get going. So there was a lot of little setups along the way, but we've got everything going now. We've got everything. I think they're mainly filling up, yeah, they filled up some storage bins for me for crafting purposes, and now they're going into a sink. We have some builds coming up where these are actually going to get used, thankfully. But yeah, just going into a sink right now, making a whole, I think we're making like 15 per minute, something like that. Yeah, this was another pretty cool one to do. I like the swamp. The swamp has this cool, like, I'll go down here and you'll actually see it. You get this like Instagram filter grayscale on it, and like makes it look a little creepy. You'll notice that may have affected a bunch of my thumbnails on some of the videos, but yeah, another really fun one to put together. Hopefully, like I said, if people are trying to follow along with any of these builds, I hope I did a decent job of, you know, highlighting everything, and not in this episode, but in the actual build episodes. Hopefully I made it easier for people to follow along with, or just kind of give you inspiration for how to take the recipe and put it together in your own way. I've also started including all the build guides that I have from Satisfactory Calculator on all the videos. So if you're ever looking to follow along with the video but not necessarily build the exact same layout that I do, just check the video description and you'll see the calculator that I got for you guys. So that is pretty much it for the swamp. I believe that actually is it for the swamp. So we can head on over to the blue crater for the finale of the episode. I mean, this isn't really going to be the craziest thing you're going to see, but this was my very first oil power plant, and it caused, well, a good amount of issues for a while. I would say this would be another one where I would say probably don't build along with this one, but at least we learned for the future. Like all my other oil, the other oil production, or the other oil power plant you saw, far more efficient, way better layout, just worked better overall. So hopefully for 1.0 I kind of get my act together and learn some of these builds a little better. Oh, we also have supercomputers over here. I almost forgot about that. We got a little bonus coming on over here. So we've got our very first our oil power production down here. This was, I believe, actually can't really remember what this was. This was 15,000 megawatts power. Isn't it crazy that I have more fuel generators here making 15,000 megawatts than I do with the other ones, and the other ones are actually making more power, like more power than this is. Yeah, this was complicated and annoying in the very beginning. Had a lot of issues. So what I've really learned is if you can limit the amount of machines you have connected to one feeder pipe, like usually less than 10 is probably a good way to go. Not these lines of, I think, 25 that I've got going all the way down here. But yeah, it all started with these refineries down here that are making a bunch of, this was the original fuel recipe. This was, again, before I had too many of the alternates and too many of the machines. We made a bunch of polymer resin, which makes our 300 plastic, which is currently just going back to base and going into a sink. But I actually have a plan coming up for this. You guys remember, if you remember, I mentioned in this episode, we have a build for batteries coming up, 150 of them per minute. It's going to use the exact 300 plastic from here. So I finally actually have a use for this. Now let's take a little quick look on over at our supercomputer build. This one was actually so much easier to put together than I was expecting it to be. If you guys have ever built a supercomputer build, then you might be like, but supercomputers are kind of complex and difficult. Kind of, but also not really. This whole, the thing is, this is purely just for crafting purposes. So it only makes 1.5 supercomputers per minute. That's also why it seems so easy. I don't think I've ever needed more than the 1.5 that I make from this for crafting. So it's been really nice. So you've got the upper floor here where you're making like the circuit boards, the supercomputers, high-speed connectors, and the computers. Got all that stuff going on up there. Little logistics lore in between. Some constructors down here for like the quick wire and the copper. And then you just got our smelters. We got some plastic being made here. We got one for rubber. We've got a bunch of Caterium being made over here in the pure Caterium ingot recipe. I definitely started using more of the pure ingot recipes going forward because you just use so much less ore. And then just another round of petroleum coke being thrown into a sink. We sink a lot of petroleum coke around here. So that's the supercomputer factory. That's my first oil production facility. And honestly, that is going to bring us to the unfortunate end of this world tour today. 350 hours in, 50 episodes. I think we've made some pretty good progress. I feel like we could maybe be a little bit further. Some of those hours have definitely gone to just troubleshooting the annoying problems I've run into because I'm dumb and don't know how to play the game. But aside from that, I really appreciate everyone's support and help with the series. Everyone who's always like getting helpful comments and tips, always keep them coming. I always, I'm always reading the comments. I try and respond to everybody when I can. And I hope to see you guys more for the rest of this series. I hope to see you still again for 1.0 and any other games we end up playing beyond that. Still not really sure yet, but we're rocking with Satisfactory for now. It's been really enjoyable. And I'm very thankful for all of you being here. Thank you for coming on my 50 episode world tour. I'll leave you guys with just a little highlight montage where I'll just do some little panoramic shots showing some of the cool factory builds with Luminon. And I will see you guys in the next one.